It was a Wednesday night, and at that point, I'm just like, "My life's over."
Mm.
I just felt like the rock bottom, like, I have ruined everything. I've destroyed my family. I'm lying to the landlord. She found a journal that my daughter was keeping, just stuff about me that I couldn't believe they would think of their dad like that, you know? I think back on it, I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, I can't believe what the things I put my kids through." That really opened my eyes, and I'm like, "Hey, Chris, you got a decision to make. Are you gonna give all that up just to keep drinking and maybe one day end up in jail, kill yourself, kill somebody else, or
Yeah.
you gonna get your family back together?"
Hey guys, today I have Chris. He's joining us after celebrating just over 1 year of sobriety. Once a successful professional husband and father, Chris spiraled into a cycle of blackout drinking, starting from the moment he woke up to the moment he passed out. He was going to work drunk, drinking throughout the day, and losing everything he held dear. His wife was ready to leave him. His daughter stopped talking to him. And his life had become completely unrecognizable. So we are so excited to have him here tonight. And Chris, let's go back to the very beginning where all this started. Was high school?
Yeah, yeah, high school, out on the weekends with your friends, getting beer wherever you could get it, going
Yeah.
out, and it kinda went into college too, the partying on the weekends, especially being an 18-year-old kid away from home for the first time, and, that's really where I got introduced to alcohol was really high school and just kinda went into college the same way.
You said 2017 was your lowest point.
Yeah.
But before I get into that, I kind of want to like touch on your childhood. Was there something from your childhood that led, like, because a lot of us have a childhood that we either try to run from or we started drinking because of patterns and stuff. Did you like what was your upbringing like?
I mean, I my childhood was good. I had 2 stable parents, working, have a younger brother. I did which I didn't know, but I dealt with fear and anxiety a lot, but back when
Mm,
I was growing up, that wasn't a thing. You didn't hear about that, and if you heard
yeah.
depression, then something was wrong with you. When I was 18, I got diagnosed with it, and that kinda opened my eyes, but when I was young, I had a lot of surgeries, tumors and stuff. I've had glands removed. So a lot of that started when I was in the 5th and 6th grade. So I just remember those days being very traumatic. I was afraid of dying. And I think that's where I developed my anxiety. I got scared at everything after that. Um, and then I came, one side of my family, they are alcoholics. So I grew up around alcohol. Drinking. My grandfather was a very well-known alcoholic where we would buy him bourbon for Christmas. That was our gift. So, but I had typical childhood. Grew up, played sports, went to college to play sports. Parents are still together. 50 some years of marriage. So
Oh,
a
wow.
pretty stable family.
Yeah. So you mentioned right before we got on here that you had lupus.
Mm,
Was that from those you said you had things tumors removed,
yeah.
and was that part of it?
No, no. Really, it was weird. One day, my fingers started turning white a lot in heat and cold, and my wife
Mm.
told me I should go to the doctor. So I did. And the doctor started running all these tests, and next thing I know, I'm at a rheumatologist, and he's like, "Yeah, your numbers are high. You're one of the 10% of men that get lupus," which I
Oh,
break out every night in hives. I have to take an Allegra every day. If I don't, I break out, get real sore and tired. But I mean, I kind of lived with it. I got diagnosed with that in 2011.
okay. Yeah,
So
I'm not super familiar with it, so sorry if I've like
there's
I mean, I've heard
just
the term, but I've
yeah.
never really, dove into it.
It's different for everybody, but, like, for me, I my joints get really sore, my knuckles swell up, I don't get the butterfly rashes are the very popular thing with lupus, I don't get any of that, I
Okay.
get the hives, and certainly didn't help with drinking, on lupus because that's something I'm always getting I was getting blood work and looking at my organs, because a lot of people that do pass from lupus, kidney failure. So,
Oh,
kidneys and liver and all that work together. So that was something that, I really kinda threw by the wayside, and just didn't worry about it, but it's something I've lived with for a while now.
wow. Sorry to hear that. I mean, my husband has rheumatoid arthritis,
Yeah.
or not rheumatoid. Well, he has fibromyalgia,
Yeah, yeah.
and the when he gets attacks, it like takes him down. The fatigue, the aches. I mean,
Yeah, 'cause,
sometimes like it's painful.
Autoimmune, your body fights itself. You know,
Mhm.
it's attacking itself when you get sick. So the autoimmune, a lot of people don't understand that. It's hard to heal, and that fibromyalgia. You said rheumatoid arthritis. I have that. That comes from autoimmune as well. So there's a lot
Yeah.
of stuff that the rheumatologist can test. And unfortunately, we're having my kids tested for it too because they're experiencing a lot of the symptoms. My
Yeah.
wife as well. She has a lot of those symptoms as well. So
Really?
it can be debilitating. Luckily, I've been, I think, besides drinking, I kept myself in shape. So, hopefully
Mm.
that helped, it helped me fight through some of that pain and soreness.
Yeah, because I know, with the fibromyalgia, the drinking was not helping my husband at
Yeah.
all. So he
Yeah.
hasn't had as many flare-ups as he did when he was drinking.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
science to that. Um, so you mentioned you were still working during the time that you were drinking from sunup to sundown. So that's when in 2017, so you were drinking high school, it was just normal, I
Yeah.
guess,
Yeah.
right? And then
Yep.
in
Normal parties.
2017,
Yeah. Wherever we could, yeah, just going
yeah.
parties where we could get beer on the weekends. I didn't think about it during the week. But I'll tell you, yeah. So I'll kind of start like you mentioned 2017, and I just remember. So what happened? Um, I've been in the same field since the '90s, and, one of the places I had was shutting down, my job was gone, so I'm interviewing for jobs, and, I hadn't interviewed for a job, and I'm nervous, I'm doing interviews like this on Zoom, which was new at that time to interview, so I started, you know, drinking a couple screwdrivers in the morning before an interview, and, to get, that liquid courage,
Yeah.
feeling good, doing great on the interviews, I got the job, but the problem was, before I got the job, I started doing it every day because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, okay, that I like kinda waking up and having some drinks." But then as I got the new job, as stress and finances and things, because it didn't pay as much as the other jobs I had, and, I had 3 young children, my wife, who's had some health issues, I couldn't handle the pressure, so I started drinking more and more, but then I felt
Mm,
like it was making me more productive. So, I kept doing it and doing it, but the more I did it, the more I got dependent on it, and so then I'd
mm,
wake up at 3 in the morning shaking. I would wake up and go have a drink at 3, uh, maybe fall back asleep, wake up at 6. My routine was I'd set my alarm. I'd be up by 6. I had to be at work at 9, so I knew I had 2.5 hours to have some drinks, watch some TV, get ready for work, and then it just started every day. I had to have a drink in my hand. I'd get to work, 10 o'clock, 10:30 rolls around, I need another one, so I run
mm,
an errand. I knew what time the liquor stores opened, or I'd have something in my car. Um, it got so bad, and I just did it. I would drink when I was driving home. I mean, it's ridiculous. I
yeah.
don't know how I never got caught. I mean, the things I look back on now are I just can't believe some of these decisions I made, but it
Oh,
got
I'm right there with you.
yeah, I mean, I beat myself up over it too, but it got where I could not function any second of the day without having alcohol in my hand, in my body, and I always kept telling myself, "Nothing's wrong with me, I'm just I'm a functional alcoholic, I'm just getting through the day," even though my wife would call me on it all the time. She's like, "Chris, you're
Mm,
hammered," and then wake up in the morning, "Do you remember what you said?" "No." That's when I started blacking out, like, not remembering anything, and honestly, that went on for years 'cause, I
mm,
mean, from 17 is when it got bad, and then COVID hit,
mm,
and we literally I was living in Pennsylvania, we lived in the Pocono Mountains, and it was this secluded, everybody there was lived there, would chill and drink. I only had to report to work on Thursdays from 10 to 11 on a Zoom call. Other than that, the one thing that was open in our little town in the Poconos was the ABC store, and you called ahead of time, you went to the door, they held it out for you, and you took it home. So that got really bad, because I would pass out on the couch at 2 in the afternoon, wake up at 5, and just start going again. So it just got bad. I started lying. I started fudging finances. I
mm,
didn't care about anything because it didn't really matter because nothing bad was ever gonna happen because I was feeling too good, and that's what
mhm.
the alcohol was telling me. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that you say that nothing's bad is ever gonna happen happen because I just felt good. I
Yeah.
don't think that we realize what we're actually doing,
Right.
and then we look back at all these things and why did I do that? Like, that
Yeah.
was so ridiculous,
Yeah.
reckless, just not who you are. Like, you are detached from your body almost.
Yeah, and you're right, that's a great word, reckless, because that's what it was. Like, I look back now, at the time, I thought I was doing nothing wrong, and I was just going through life, going to work, coming home, providing for the family, putting food on the table, and that was my biggest thing was, "Oh, well, I'm taking care of you guys. What does it
Yeah.
matter? I'm fine. Everybody's got clothes, got food, got a car." But yeah, my wife didn't tell me this until after I got sober, but she used to record conversations we had and things I was doing. And I'm gonna tell you what, you want to get humbled really quick is listen to some of those with a sober, clear mind. It's the most embarrassing thing in the world. And
Wait, did you listen to these, like, on days that you were sober or after you got
no,
sober?
after, because after I'd been sober for a little bit, we like to sit outside a lot. We were
Mhm.
sitting outside and she's like, let me play something for you. And I'm like, I don't want to hear it. She's like, nope,
Oh,
you're
no.
gonna, and she's like, you're gonna hear it. And, yeah, it was embarrassing because, I was at the time where, we had talked about this, is my wife was leaving me. I can kind of fast forward through those, 6, 7 years of just really drinking heavily and not caring about anything in the world except the alcohol. That's all I cared about. Where
Dude,
she
we're
was like,
selfish.
yeah, I was very selfish, very selfish. She was, we lived apart. I lived in Virginia. She's in South Carolina. Because I had a job down there, and that's the job that um, I lost the job because I couldn't keep myself, responsible at a job down there. It was probably the biggest job I've ever had, um, and I lost that. She stayed down there. I moved up to Virginia. She was filing separation. Um, she found a journal that my daughter was keeping. My daughter's 17 now, so she was, 14, 15. I think she wrote the journal at 13. Just stuff about me that I couldn't believe they would think of their dad like that, but I think back on it, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I can't believe what the things I put my kids through. And that really opened my eyes and I'm like, hey, Chris, you got a decision to make. Um, my wife and I've been married 20 years and, she was my best friend when I married her. It's like, are you going to give all that up just to keep drinking and maybe one day end up in jail, kill yourself, kill somebody else? Or
Yeah.
you're gonna get your family back together. You got 3 amazing children, that need their father, and, so that's what prompted me. It was that. It took a lot, though. I went out to California. One of the things I had a problem with, I would look at myself every morning in the mirror when I was taking my first drink and just cuss myself out because I
Really?
I just hated what I was looking at. And I would be drinking, but I'd get on the phone, I'd call rehabs, that were in maybe a 100-mile radius. No one would take my insurance. I couldn't find anyone to take it, and I thought I had pretty good insurance with my job. So, I ended up talking to somebody out in Malibu. Now, they said they took my insurance, so I go out there, which, that was crazy. I mean, I was scared to death, going that far away. I got there, and it's one of those ritzy mansions up on the hills, overlooking the water.
In Malibu.
In Malibu, yeah, as my wife
Did
said, "You're going to Malibu, really?" She thought, "Okay, Chris, yeah, you're really taking this seriously."
maybe you could have met, somebody else famous in
Yeah,
there.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I saw the podcast you said they were talking about that. I mean, I was in the same room, I kid you not, that Lindsay Lohan was in. Um,
Oh,
yeah, so when I found out it was an $80,000 a month bedroom I was staying in.
wait, a month?
A month, I kid you not. I won't say the name of the place, but
But why is that okay? And I think we were I don't know whose podcast this was. I mean, I talked about this so many times.
yeah.
Why is it so expensive to go to get help?
I know, and I think that's why I've kinda, like, I wanted to, kinda start talking about this. This my journey's been very private to me, and really only my wife and kids, really not even my parents do I share a lot of this stuff with. But that was one of the things that really drove me crazy. I went out there, I knew they didn't take my insurance. I kept telling this admissions guy, "They don't take my insurance." I get there, I'm there 24 hours, they call my wife, they're like, "His insurance didn't go through."
Oh,
Well, of course not, I told you guys this. So, I stayed there for 7 days, I detoxed, but then they sent me home. Like, they're like, "You gotta go." And that's where I really got sour about it. Like, number 1, I detoxed
mm.
by myself. They never had anyone come in the room and check on me.
What?
W
$80,000 a
it
month?
was and basically, it was a free-for-all. We had 2 girls there that they'd stay up till 1 or 2 in the morning. They were young,
Mm.
probably 19, 20, just making noise all night long. Even the guy who drove me to the airport's like, "You're a lot older. I appreciate you putting up with that." And I'm just like, "I mean, it's fine, but I kinda came here to save my marriage, not, listen to 2 people party all night." So, it
Ugh.
kinda soured me. So, I came home, I had detoxed, thank goodness, and luckily, I had the mindset, "I'm not gonna drink." But here's the problem, I thought since I had detoxed, "Okay, well, my wife's gonna come back to me now, my
Huh.
daughter's gonna talk to me, everything's fine, I'm not drinking." That that's what I didn't understand, the journey after, um, stopping putting it in my
Mhm.
system was, okay, how do I now what do I do? And I felt like I was kinda all alone out there, nowhere to go. I tried some AA meetings, it didn't really help me. I did some counseling, but I just kinda, started really trying to just motivate myself, and my number 1 goal was to have my daughter give me a hug and tell me she loved me. And, I told you I wrote her a letter. It was, 2 weeks after it was her 16th birthday. It's 2 weeks after I got out. Came back and, she took it, and then I think I told you, I mean, to this day, she still has it hanging up in her room. And, before we came on here today, she's very religious. She said, "I wanna pray with you." That's
Aw.
something my daughter hadn't done, and yeah, it makes me emotional, but, it's something she hadn't done and makes me like, "Why did I ever do that?"
Yeah.
Like, why did I even risk that feeling? Because really those are the 4 of them are what I have and what my life is about now. So
Right. Oh my gosh, that gave me goosebumps. Um, so a little step backwards.
I
So
know I kinda went
you
all over the place there, but,
Oh, no, you're fine. So you went, to that place. That was your rehab stint
that
was
was
just
my
7 days to
it was
detox?
yeah, it was exactly 7 days. So, like, the last I went in there on April 20th of 2004. That's the, last time I had a drink. I was trashed when I got there. I drank the whole
Oh,
way on the airplane, even stopped in the airport bar when I got to
yeah.
LA drinking. Everybody said, "Well, keep, drink until you get there." But, yeah, so it there were some tough days in that week, though, I will say that. It was not easy, I sat in that bedroom, and I was the only guy that went to group. Like, they didn't make anyone go to group, it was just me. I'd go in
I
there.
don't understand
Yeah,
how that is even
yeah,
ethical at all.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I could do a whole 'nother thing on that, but it just
Oh,
rubbed me I called my wife because I was allowed to have my cell phone. So I called her and, she really didn't wanna talk to me, and I'm just like, "Ryan," that's her name. I'm like, I'm the only one I'm the only one going to group, so it's not like I'm just sitting here living the life. I'm trying to make this work as best I can. So, actually, I think it was a godsend that they sent me home, that it didn't work out with the insurance.
yeah. So you got home after 7 days of detoxing, and then, like, what kept you sober? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously your daughter, and, I've talked to so many men that their daughters have been inspired
Mhm.
to quit drinking because of their daughters.
Yeah.
And yes, there are other kids too when they have multiple children, but how that is so powerful. And my daughter to this day is she says, I got daddy to quit drinking. Like, man, if that could just be for everybody, like,
Yeah.
hey dad, I don't like the way you're drinking. Can you please cut back or quit drinking? And like, I know it's not as simple, but just how powerful it is to have a part of your heart at like I don't know. I couldn't imagine not talking to my
No.
child because of alcohol.
Yeah, and that's where you make the choice, like, what's more important? What
Mhm.
is more important? And you're right, I mean, we're fortunate that we have that support, 'cause a lot of people don't have that, like, it's interesting? So I mentioned I come from an I have alcoholism in my family. Like, I don't really talk like, I'm very close with my parents, actually, their couch is what I slept on when I got back from California. Um I don't really talk to them about it. They still, they like to drink, and they don't weren't doing what I was doing, but, I had to kinda distance myself from them because I needed to get away. Like I told you, I live at the beach. Everything around here, especially starting this weekend, is,
Big
party. You hear
weekend.
you
Yeah.
hear the bands playing, people, you hear the noise of the people drinking. It was difficult, and what I started doing was pouring myself into my work. Like, I was getting up, remember, at 6 o'clock, I would start drinking, so I didn't have to be at work till 9. Well, now I get up and I'm at work at 6:30. I'm the only one there for 2.5 hours because I had to get my mind doing something else. Um, my 2 boys, I haven't really mentioned them. They're adults. They're sophomores in college, but they're local, and, I see them all the time, and, yeah, it's almost like I become buddies with them, because we've never had a chance to really sit and just talk and kinda get to learn who they are, and they get to learn who
Mhm.
I am because all they've grown up is, drunk dad. So those are some of the things that really motivated me is them and spending more time with them and saying, "Man, I missed out on a lot because 'cause they're talented
Yeah.
kids, and I missed out on a lot of that." So now, even though they're older, I'm like, "Well, it's never too late." And so that's really my number one motivation.
So, yeah, I love that you say it's never too late, especially when it comes to rebuilding those relationships with our children. I mean, thankfully, I got sober when they are still super young, but I mean, it's just painful watching a parent or child drink their life away. Like you said you lost your teeth.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, I lost, my teeth started falling out, and, I went to the dentist, and he, he mentioned, he said, "Your gums just look like they've been burned." And, in my head, I'm like, "Yeah, that's the," 'cause I was a vodka was my choice, that really got me drunk, and so, drinking that in orange juice, I mean, orange juice is so acidic-y,
Mm.
that, I would, it just, started falling out with the lupus because I get dry mouth, so it's not, you need that saliva. I'm missing a saliva gland from a surgery when I was little, so all that together, with the drinking made me lose them all, and, that's been embarrassing. I'm in the process now of, getting all that rectified, but, yeah, I mean, that too is like, geez, I was letting myself go. This past year, I lost 20 pounds. You
Wow.
know, I, started walking. That's another thing, just exercising, which
Yes.
I had not been doing. And, I was a college athlete. I always have kept myself in shape and I didn't care. Never drank water. Whatever I would eat would be like a piece of pizza or something just to kind of put something in my thing. But now I got one son, he is, he went from being a toothpick to he's just completely cut because he got into lifting and nutrition. So he's always talking to me about what to eat and I need to do this. And, so that's helped a lot. And that's one of the ways I've connected with him, on that. And he's helped me through my journey because he doesn't want to ever see me drink again. He tells me that.
Right.
It's like, I want you to be healthy and I want, to feel proud of yourself. So I think that, and, I learned about endorphins. That's one thing I learned about it at rehab. I'll take that away from it was how to get those endorphins going without the alcohol. And,
Yeah.
I think walking a lot. I walk it where everybody knows, "Oh, where's Chris?" "Oh, he's on his 45-minute walk on campus." So they know Chris is out walking, and I do it every morning, and then I do it at night before the sun goes down, as well. So I try to do it twice a day.
Good. I love that because when we were doing 75 hard, I never realized how much walking actually helped in my sobriety.
Yeah.
And then I'm listening to so many other people and reading so many things that walking was a huge part of their sobriety journey.
Yeah, it has. It has been, it actually the second day I got back after I kinda caught back up with the jet lag, I started going walking. I mean, I live at the beach. I've taken advantage even on, New Year's Day, I'm on the beach walking. It's freezing, but I'm bundled up, but I'm like, "Nope, I'm going." Because there's so many things I forgot to enjoy, and
Yeah.
one of them's the air, I grew up at the beach, so salt air, we always say that's in our lungs. Enjoying that again and enjoying watching the sunrise, the sunset, just little things you take for granted. Um, I now have a big meaning in my life more than it ever has. So
Yeah. I love that. Um, so your wife, how long did it take for you guys to mend your relationship?
So I just celebrated 13 months. I'd say it took about 10.
I had a feeling you were gonna say
Mm,
10.
yeah. And ag
Um,
yeah, and again, like me, I thought, "Oh, we're good," but nope, she kept me at a distance, for a long I say 10 months is a long time when you've been married a long time and you're not, having that relationship with your wife that you're used to having and the talks and just hanging out, even a hug. Like, I didn't get hugs or anything from her. Like,
oh,
it was tough. It was tough, and, I feel horrible on what I put her through. Just horrible.
I can relate to that on many levels. Did did you guys try going to therapy? Like, how did you
Yeah,
what steps did you guys take?
yeah, we were gonna go to therapy. We talked about it, and then I was trying to see what I needed to do to get better. And then we just kinda, honestly, it's funny. We started just texting each other, and then we would start like, my wife, everybody that knows her, we joke, she's like the man of the relationship. She is very stern and, you know, she's not one to open up and talk about her feelings a lot, where I am, I'm more like, "Hey, let's talk about it."
That's
But
my husband. I'm like, "I don't wanna talk."
yeah, it's just like, "Can you just be quiet?"
Yeah.
But we started having conversations, and I really let her and she deserved it to tell me the things that I had done over the years and the things that drove her crazy and pushed me away where she's like, you've heard it before from people, you know, "I love you, but I do not like you." And I remember I heard that so many times, and she's like, "I first have to learn how to like you again before,
Mm.
I can let you in." And it was just really I had to learn to keep my distance and keep the boundaries and let her make the decision to let me in. All I could do was try to, show her that I'm improving. Um, and I mean, she bought a breathalyzer, like, I
Oh.
mean, she had one. When I'd go down to South Carolina, it'd be right there. She's like, "Here," so,
Oh.
mm, I'm
So, did you guys just recently move back in with each other the last few months?
so, no, my daughter just graduated from high school, just literally 2 weeks ago. So
Okay.
I go down there on all my free time. So my
Okay.
daughter will be going to school, everybody will be getting back closer, to each other, but, we didn't rush in and, my daughter is, that was important to me. I mean, she has a boyfriend and friends and school, and so there's no reason for me to take her away from that, because of my mistakes.
Right.
Like, I took a job up here in Virginia. I made all those decisions drunk. I made them drunk, and, so who am I to make a decision for her when I wasn't even thinking about her when I made the decision to take this job? And that's one of the things that being drunk did to me, is I would make snap decisions without thinking about them. I could change a car every 3 months. I mean, I remember I bought a car just completely trashed. I don't even
Oh.
remember half buying it. Yeah, and I mean, I guess I was able to hide it. I don't know. I mean, no one ever said anything to me, but yeah, I was there are things I should have never been allowed to do that I did. And that's, moving houses, oh, hey, we're going to break our lease and move to this house. Just things like that. Because everything seemed right to me. There was no reasoning with me. It was like whatever I thought was what we were going to do.
Mm.
Um,
So, you just brought something to my attention. I've yet to move sober. Every
mm,
time I've
mhm.
moved, and that's like I have bought and sold 2 houses in Oregon, moved to Idaho, bought and sold a house, and each time I was wasted because I was productive,
Yeah. Yeah.
and, so that's, like, the one thing that I've yet to do sober.
You just said I never think about this, but the word productive, that's funny because I always felt like I was productive when I was drinking. Like, if I
Yeah.
wasn't drinking, then I felt like I was kinda in a lull. So that was something I had to learn is like, how do I get through the day not feeling or how do I make myself feel that way without
Yeah.
the alcohol? And you know what I did? So, area that we lived in, up here, because my wife's from here, all my kids were born here, so we've lived up here before, together, but we had moved away for my job. I went back to the same area where I was drunk. I lived in the same house where my wife took my book bag and took all my alcohol and threw it all over the front yard so all the neighbors could see it. I went back to that same house, and they came and visited me, um, and stayed the week, and it was the best thing ever because it was the first time we'd been in that area where I was sober, sitting with my entire family. Um, I felt like I won, is that if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
Like, I had to go back to that place to prove to myself that I could still do it without the alcohol, and I that I was on the right path. Just a little win for me. I needed it, and I think my family needed it too. So that was a big thing. We made a point to do that. Took a lot of pictures, um, kind of the same pictures we had taken when we lived there before to kind of recreate it. So it was good. It was really good.
I love that. Um, I have pulled up this quote. Rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life.
Yeah.
Like,
Uh,
it's a pretty good one.
yeah, yeah, and what to me what that meant was I had to rebuild my whole life. Um, I had 2 choices. I was either gonna rebuild my life without my loved ones in it, or I was gonna rebuild my life for them and have them in it. And, again, that rock bottom was I felt so alone. I'll never forget where I made the decisions like, "I'm leaving. I'm going away. I'm gonna fix this." Um, I felt like if I didn't well, I never really told this story, but I do wanna share it.
Yeah.
I'm, um I'm sitting my parents live in a condo here, and I'm sitting in the parking lot in my car, and, I'd never forget it was a Wednesday night, and at that point, I'm just like, "My life's over." Like, I never thought that I would ever even think about, ending my life.
Mhm.
I just felt like the rock bottom, like, I have ruined everything. I've destroyed my family. Financially, we are just, we're at th they're at the verge of being evicted from the house that, our name is on, even though I'm not living there. My name was on the lease. I'm lying to the landlord, and I was like, "They'll just be better off." I get a knock on my window at my door, a guy that I've known for, gosh, since 1985. I
Oh,
mean, that's
wow.
how long I've known him. Knocks on my window of my car, says, "Unlock the car," gets in. So, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "How do you know I'm here?" I guess my mom called him or something, like, 'cause, our families are close.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if he didn't knock on my window, I mean, I'm not saying I would've gone through with it, but I don't know what was gonna happen to my life, and he kinda got me back, and, 2 days, 3 days later, I'm on an airplane, and I'll never forget that. We live near each other, we don't see each other as much, but he's one of the people that I text every now and then, um, because of that. Like, I've lost all my friends,
Yeah.
either from just being an idiot, being
Mhm.
drunk, saying stuff that I have people to this day that don't respond to any of my texts, any of my messages. I don't know why, but I assume I must have said something or done something that I just don't remember. Um, and so that's been hard, but, I think he saved me. And if there's ever a divine intervention through people, that knock on that window really was, something big for me.
Yeah, he was, like, your saving grace that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so what tools or people have helped you most in staying sober when it felt isolating or heavy?
Yeah, the biggest thing I'm sorry, it's getting a little dark. Let me turn the not so bright. The biggest thing for me has been learning how to deal with stress and things when things aren't going right, how to deal with them. That's my biggest tool, and the way I've learned to handle it is not just push it aside and think, "Oh, it's just gonna go away," is talk about it. And that's where my wife and I have grown together is that we talk about our problems, our family issues, our financial issues, anything like that, where it's, "Okay, how do I deal with this?" Like, right now, my mother-in-law, my wife's mother is, has we don't know, could be any day left. She's in the
Mhm.
hospital, not doing well at all. The family's gathered around. And I told my wife, I said the other night, I left the hospital and I called her, because she's staying at the hospital, and I said, "I'm so grateful that I'm sober." She's like, "Why? Like, why are you saying that right now?" I said, "Because I would not have been able to be there for you tonight or
Yeah.
any of this time if I wasn't, because when my wife was ever in the hospital or my children were ever in the hospital, all I wanted to do was go home and get my next drink, and that's all I thought about, and I said, "I'll be back in the morning." My daughter had heart surgery a couple years ago. We had to go to Charleston, South Carolina. My wife at one point was like, "Just go to the store and get something to drink," and
Oh,
she saw me.
no.
And I'm like, my dau 8 hours of heart surgery she went through, and all I could think about was, "I gotta go get a tall boy real quick to 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 get me right." I mean, it was terrible,
Oh,
terrible.
do yeah.
But, so those are I think honestly, that's the biggest thing for me because that was always my problem. I would just pretend the problems weren't there because once I started drinking, they were gone. I didn't have to worry about them. In my mind, I
Yeah.
didn't have to worry about it.
So your shakes were obvious.
Yeah, they were I'll never forget at rehab, I was trying to open a cabinet and one of the girls saw my arm and actually went to one of the people working there because I couldn't even open my arm was shaking so bad. It was like the 3rd day I was there. But
Mhm.
that's how they were when I was, drinking and I didn't have it, I went, like, 2 hours without a drink, they would just shake. I'll never forget, I was working one time, I couldn't even hold a like, it was just I couldn't even hold the water, it was at work, I was so embarrassed, so I'm holding my
Oh.
hand, um, and I knew it was because I hadn't had a drink in a couple hours, and we were doing a function, so I had to wait till we got out of the function.
So living at the beach, you said you still find it hard to enjoy things that were once tied to drinking. So
Yeah.
how are you working through those moments now?
Yeah, that's been the toughest thing, so, I did it I guess baby steps, so last June, so I would have been like month and a half, 2 months after I got home. There's a big, festival here at the ocean, 2-day concert, bunch of bands. Um, I went my middle child wanted to go and his cousin went, so I went with them. People are drinking everywhere, smoking weed. I mean, you name it, they were doing it there at the beach, and what's funny? They had a, sober tent there.
They
And
did?
they did, I'd never seen it before in my life, and I'm like, "Huh." So I walked over there, I'm like, you know and I sat down there with them, and they were telling me their story, just 2 people, a guy and a girl were sitting there that were running it, and, we were talking about being at a concert, for the first time, like this, and so I'm like, "Okay." So I kinda took that and, you know what I did? I got one of those liquid death waters,
Yeah, I
because
have
it's like a
those.
tall boy, so,
Yeah.
like, if I need to fulfill the satisfaction at that point of having something in my hand while I'm drinking water, I'm hydrating myself, I did that. Will say I avoid places. I don't go in the restaurants right now still.
Oh,
Just like, for example, we went out for my kid both my boys, they're 9 days apart, like, they're Irish twins. It's really weird. Not 9, but they're the same age for 9 days. Um, so my parents and I took them out to a place we love to go here, and we were sitting at a big table in the bar area, 'cause my parents wanted to sit there, and then a big group comes and at the table as well, and they're drinking, doing shots. They had just run a marathon. We had a big marathon here that day, and I just froze up. I stopped eating. I wouldn't
mm,
look at anybody. I just wanted to leave. So, honestly, I still struggle with that, trying to cope with ways, and I know I need help with that.
yeah.
And I don't know if you've talked to anybody or this happened to you, but I dream a lot that I'm drinking. I just
Yes,
had it 2
that's a
nights ago. No, it was last night,
huge.
and I was drinking vodka the entire time in the car. My wife took my
Yeah.
phone in the dream and was looking at all the bars I'd been at. Like, I still do that. It's not as much, but I wake
Mhm.
up and I'm just feel so guilty and mad at myself until I realize,
Same.
"Okay, no,
Yeah.
I didn't really do that."
So, the dreams are so a lot of people reach out to me and ask about these dreams, and I've had so many dreams where I also wake up feeling guilty and so mad at myself,
Mhm.
and some of those dreams make me never wanna drink alcohol again
Yeah.
because of how terrible that dream was, and I feel like it's like a way of telling ourselves, like, "Do not ever go back
Yeah,
up."
yeah. Yeah,
It's
because you wake up, yeah, I just get like I remember this morning, it took me about 30 minutes really. I kinda laid in bed and had to, like, cope that, no, I didn't do it, but man, that was horrible. Like, why was I doing that in the dream? Why was and I kept saying, "Oh, it's not gonna hurt me." It's like the same things I would say if I really was drinking or back in the day when I drank. So, those are things I deal with too. It's not easy. Like I'll be honest, I got offered a big job last summer. I was gonna go down to South try to go down to South Carolina and just, be there, and, the big boss in when he was offering me the job told me how he takes his team to happy hour all the time, and,
Mm.
I'm like, "Okay, I'm not gonna tell them anything," but I'm like, "That's just gonna be awkward." The new guy, they people are talking about how they love the happy hours they go to with them, and so I turned it I talked to my wife and, we thought the best thing was me to stay in Virginia and not come down there and be uncomfortable, stay where I am. I have a lot of support there. I get along with everybody there. My boss and I, know each other, and so, little things like that I try to avoid. I mean, it's still sometimes it's 13 months right now, but sometimes it feels like it's just 2 months. I mean, there's just so
Mhm.
much that life that I have to learn how to cope with and deal with and get along. I think that's why I've lost a lot of the friends. I had a guy come in town. He's like, "Hey man, I'm going to so and so." We know a guy that owns a bar. He's like, "You want to meet me there?" I'm like, "No, I don't drink anymore." I never heard from him again the whole weekend. So
Really?
yeah, that kinda depresses me because a lot of people but that's what I did with my friends. We all, we all would go out, do shots and drink and have fun, and, we thought we were having fun and, but, now they kinda stay away from me, and, I understand that's part of it, but, I'm older, I'm in my 50s, and it's kinda like, I'm not trying to start over, and that's why I really focus on the family a lot because that's really what I have right now, and, it's fun having boys that are adults now, and, one of my sons is a college athlete as well, and so we have that in common, and I'm in athletics, and I get to see him do that, and my other son travels the world. He goes to Europe. He's leaving again in a couple weeks. He goes
Oh,
about 3 times a year. Things they just amaze me that these guys are doing that, and I get to be a part of it now and not miss out on it, so.
yeah.
That's where I get my focus, and that's what keeps me from staying sober. Because there are days, I'm telling you, I've called my wife, I said, "I don't know how I'm gonna do this, I really just wanna go get a tall boy, but I'm not gonna do it." Because she's even asked me before, "Are you drinking?" Because I might freak out at a situation, I'm trying to figure out how do I handle it,
Yeah.
and, she's like, "That's what you sounded like when you drank," and I understand why she's asking it. I mean, I convinced her I'm not because 'cause I'm not, but, um, I'm gonna get those questions from her, probably for a while, until
And I
she
think
will.
I think when you lose that trust with somebody, in any situation, they're gonna
Yeah,
question you
yeah,
regardless until they are, you know, you've earned their trust back,
yeah,
which is hard,
yeah, and I've
definitely.
said some mean things, things that I would never say, and I don't even remember saying them till I hear them, recorded, like I said, the things she
Yeah.
recorded, it's like, wow, wow.
There's a video, before I started doing just podcast, we released a video, and in the video is a situation of me at a beach house, and I was wasted, and I am so like, "Holy crap.
Yeah,
Why?" Like, why? I mean, it was ridiculous.
yeah,
He has lots of videos of me.
oh, yeah. Yeah, it's I could go on and on. It's just, it feels good though. I mean, sometimes I may act like, "Oh, this and that," but, I mean, I wouldn't change it for the world now, how I feel now. I mean, I'll be honest, like I said, I'm not drinking, I'm up getting ready to go to work. I'm at work working hard, and, um, I've been work has been going great, and even my boss, he's come to me, he's like, "You're just a different guy. You're just different. We don't want you leaving. We want you here for a long time." And those are good
Yeah,
things to hear because sometimes you need to hear some reinforcements like, "Hey, I'm on the right path, and the
exactly.
decisions I'm making are the right ones," which, you weren't making for the past 7 years, 8 years.
Yeah.
So,
So for anyone listening who's still drinking daily, maybe blacking out or hiding it, like,
yeah.
you know, what would you say to them right now?
Gosh, that's a great question. Well, here's what I would say coming from me, because I never thought anybody knew that things were happening. People know. People can
People
can
know.
tell. But at some point, it's not gonna get better. I told myself a lot, "I can quit anytime," and it never worked. So, to the people that are out there doing that all the time, and at some point, it's gonna catch up to you, and you're gonna hit everybody's rock bottom's different. Some people have them,
Yeah.
some don't, but, um, you know, to me, life is much better with a clear mind, clear eyes, There's so many things to enjoy, and getting drunk is, you're putting poison in your body. I mean, it's not only hurting you mentally, but physically as well. And I think, you just kind of got to take a look in the mirror. I don't ever want to see that guy again that I cussed out in the mornings in my bathroom mirror. Like that guy's gone, and I don't ever
Yeah.
want to see him again.
Uh, oh man, that's so good. I think too many people out there are just so stuck in that nobody's gonna know, I'm not that bad, I'm hiding it, or especially when I mean, I've been asked by my friends, "Oh, is she drunk?"
Yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna answer that because that's not my place to say anything, but some people that I know that were, working were definitely wasted, and
Yeah.
they think that nobody knows, and then you come home and you're like, "You are sloppy right now. How can you hold yourself together?" And, I've had so many podcasts with people saying that they hit it, and then the comments would come in and people would be like, You didn't hide it." I mean, we think that we're oblivious.
Yeah. Yeah, we think we're Superman. And it's funny you say that real quick is there was a situation at a job that I knew the guy was drinking. Like, I never said anything to anybody, but I
No.
I just knew it. I could smell it on his breath. I could look at his eyes. I could look at the way he was functioning at work, the way he was acting. I'm like, that guy's me, thinking no one knows and just going about your day. But he would disappear. Because people are like, "Where's he going?" In my head, I'm like, "I know where he's going."
Yeah.
He's going out to his truck, drive somewhere and have a few and come back to, get his mouth washed, brush his teeth, do something to,
Oh.
eat as I would do, I would eat Reese's peanut butter cups,
Oh,
get the
man.
yeah, I mean, this dumb thing. And then if somebody smelled something, I'm always like, "Oh, yeah, just mouthwash." I get the cheap stuff. I mean, just make an excuse after excuse, and nobody believe me. But
And now that you're out of drinking, I don't know, I can smell alcohol.
oh,
Like,
yeah.
I can smell cigarettes. I've never been a smoker, so
Yeah,
cigarettes are very potent to me, and now I can smell alcohol. I'm like, "You can't lie to me anymore.
yeah,
I know that you're drinking." And I'll, like, question certain like, people are like, "Oh, I didn't have anything." I'm like, "I can smell it, and it's your mouthwash, right?"
yeah, well, what was it? Oh, well, brown liquor you can smell, but the white liquor you can't. So I'm like, "I'm drinking vodka,
Oh.
nobody can smell that." I mean, yeah, well, when you
Oh
as my
my
wife said,
gosh.
when my screwdriver barely has a tint of orange in it because I
Oh,
literally,
man.
of course it's gonna smell.
Uh,
I could make a little bottle, those little bottles of orange juice, I could make that go for 3 or 4 days because I would just tap. I mean, again, that's why my gums got so burned because it's almost like you were drinking straight vodka, with a hint of orange juice. It's ridiculous.
oh,
Yeah.
that
I mean,
just
it makes me sick now thinking about it. It's like
yeah.
it's disgusting. And one thing I think I've passed on to my kids is, they see the effects of it and how it affects them, and, they're all don't want anything to do with it. And, especially, my 2 boys being college guys now,
Yeah.
they stay away from it, and I
So
think it's important.
so I love that because, a lot of us can blame, "Oh, well, I drink or I drank because my parents did." But then I know so many people that have went the opposite route of what their parents did because they did not like it. And, um, I mean, I can name several people, but it's like, I don't drink because my dad did, or I drink because my dad did. It I mean, that's where I struggle with the whole, um it being 100% genetic
Yeah.
because I think that it's up to us to, we're in control of our life. What our parents did, we don't have to be like that. And I'm hoping that I'm leading by example with my children that, you don't have to drink to have fun.
Yeah, and real quick, that is see, right there, that's my life in a nutshell because I grew up around it. Like, we would do family beach houses, during the summer. Everybody's drinking
Yeah.
from my parents to my sibling to, his family, in-law, everybody. It was the norm. And so you ask, what do I do now? That's one of the things that's been tough too, is it's accepted in my family, so I feel like the outcast, the outsider, because 'cause I'm the only one that doesn't drink an ounce of alcohol, um, so I've had to learn how do I do that? I mean, I've like I said, I've had to leave, my parents' house just because I'm like, I'm just not comfortable at the moment,
Yeah.
because there are triggers. I mean,
Mhm.
I you may have heard this where people say, "I'm never gonna drink again." No, I'm not gonna drink today, and, tomorrow's the next day. So, while I don't wanna ever drink again, I have to be mindful of what kinda triggers me, and that's why I say I still deal with it every day that,
Yeah.
are right now, the sun's out shining. I just wanna prop my feet up with a beer and listen to music because that's what I was used to doing.
Me too.
But I know I can't do that, because I'm not a guy that can just sit there and enjoy a beer and music because it'll turn into a disaster, and that's what alcohol is for me. It's not the social thing, it was a lifestyle that nearly destroyed me.
I so I just wanna kinda touch on how you leave your family's house if it's too much for you and it's triggering, and they respect that, don't they? Like,
They
"Okay,
they
Chris had to leave, we understand,"
they
or
do,
I
but I will say this, and I don't think they understand it as much, because it was like, "Hey, I'm going to rehab." "Oh, really? Why?" Like,
oh gosh.
yeah, like, my dad's father, my grandfather, who I was he was an alcoholic, loved him, but, so my dad grew up in that, they didn't have the greatest relationship, so he understands alcoholism, and the effect it had on him, but it's tough because it is again, my mom is the greatest mother I could ever have. She's retired, she likes to have her wine, in the afternoon, but, there are times she's had blackouts where she doesn't remember anything, or the kids know, "Hey, don't talk to Nana after 7." So that's
Sad.
what I mean. It's like when I see the way she's acting, like, I'll say to the kids, "Is that how I was?" They're like, "Oh, dad, you were 10 times worse."
Ooh,
So, I just kinda remove myself because number 1, I get embarrassed for me, like, gosh, I was worse than what I'm thinking right now that looking at my mom. It's just, it's tough, and so I just try to stay away. I mean, they understand, I tell 'em. I mean, she said every month anniversary, she's like, "I'm proud of you," so they support it. I just,
they
it's
don't
just
understand.
yeah, they don't quite understand what and they've said it because 'cause I've talked to 'em. I've let's say I've gotten angry at them, but I'm just like, "I just wish you would kinda, understand how hard it is sometimes, 'cause
Yeah,
where I come from and how I was raised and the change of life, because I feel like I'm living a different life now,
yeah.
because of it, because I'm doing different things. I have OCD, so there's things I won't do now because I equate it with when I was drinking. Like, there may be a movie that I sat on the couch, pounding beers. I won't watch that movie anymore because I equate it to drinking.
Mhm.
It's kinda weird, and that's something I am working on, with a counselor, on that side because I don't wanna be like that. I wanna be able to enjoy things, and it wasn't that didn't prompt me to drink. I just happened to be drinking when I was doing these or watching something or listening to something, and, I'm
Yeah.
going to my 2nd concert, in 2 weeks, the same band I saw at that festival,
Who
uh
which band?
Ballyhoo. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Mm-mm.
They call them beach reggae. Uh,
Okay.
it's, but what's very interesting is their singer, and this is what motivated me. Right when I got out from California, he had posted on YouTube, he did a video that he was, a year sober. And I was like, because all it's reggae. They sing about drinking and doing drugs and stuff. And
Yeah.
I messaged him. I was like, wow, I didn't know that. And then he just celebrated his 2 year. So I messaged him
Oh,
again and I just like, "Hey, I just celebrated my" was kinda keeping in touch with him and, that kinda motivated me. I'm like, "Okay," the guy that I'm trying to go see sober is actually sober,
I love that.
and so that was really motivating, and it's the concert thing that the reason it's so big for me to go to a concert, there's a band that was a, regional band that my wife and I absolutely loved, and they were doing their very, very, very last show. Their bass player had cancer. My kids loved the band. They'd never seen them, so we took them. There were 4 bands that night. I don't even remember that band playing, the one we went to see. I woke up and it was, 12 o'clock at night. I was in bed. I didn't even know how I got there. My wife wouldn't talk to me. I'm like, "I ruined that for my kids." We had planned it for months, and I ruined it because I started drinking when I got up. The
Yep,
show wasn't until that night. We got there early, was drinking there, it
yep.
just so that's why it's
Then
so big for me to go to a be able to go to a concert and enjoy
oh,
it with my
yeah.
with my son, and it
I
means a
feel
lot to
you
me.
I feel you 100% on that, and so many other people can relate also because I have been kicked out of concerts. I blacked out at all of them for the
Yeah,
most part. Probably 9 out of 10 of them I was blacked out. Would wake up and be like, "Where's my phone? Where's my wallet?
yeah,
My husband won't talk to me. Like,
sure.
what did I do? How did I get home?" And oh my gosh, like, did I actually get a ticket for indecent exposure? Like,
Yeah,
uh-oh. Like, you know? Uh, it's a and then I've ruined, like, Reba McEntire, I think it was, like she was on her last I'm hoping it's not her last one, but I think rumor had it, it was her last one. Me and my friend at the time, we I feel bad because she had to leave because I got kicked out.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it stinks, and I remember my son at the concert last year, they were all waving their hands, he's like, "Dad, put your hands up." I couldn't because if I was drunk, I would've, but I was
Right,
learning how to
yes.
just sit there
Yeah,
and enjoy it while people are smoking weed all around me, like, just sitting there, like, trying to enjoy the music, but no, it's yeah, I'm excited, like, that's all we're talking about is going to the show. My oldest son is in ta he's back from Europe, so he's going, so you talk about motivation, those are some motivating things for me, is, like, I'm looking ahead to some of the cool things that I'm gonna enjoy, that we can make memories now, we can make good memories together and not like, "Oh, yeah, dad, I remember when you said that or did that," so, yeah.
yeah. So, I really like how concerts are motivating to you because going to your first sober concerts, you realize how much you actually missed out
Oh, yeah.
on all those concerts before you got sober and how much money you saved.
Yeah,
And, you
yeah.
didn't have to worry about driving home besides all the other drunks on the road. And then you get to see the drama unfold and how crappy people get. And you were one of them. I mean,
Yep.
like you, like me.
Yeah, yeah.
I was one of those fools out there being reckless and annoying and like falling all over the place, and now I'm not, now I get to watch them.
Well, you know what? The funniest thing is the thing that really opened my eyes at that concert last year was when I looked at what the beer prices were.
Yes.
I was like, "Whoa." Back then, I'd have been like, "Oh, no big deal. Here's the card." Then you get your car back, $150, tab. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, that and flying too. Fl I like I said, I drank the whole way to
yeah,
Malibu. Uh, I when I interviewed for that job last summer, that's the first time I flew. They flew me down to South Carolina so I didn't have to drive to my wife's house, and, I was like, "Man, how am I gonna do this?" I've never flown not drinking before, that was a big thing too. So, they're
yeah.
baby steps t and they're like I said, you take a win any way you can get it. That's what gets me excited every day when I wake up 'cause, I try to find a way to win the day. Uh,
Yeah, no, I love that win the day. I did my first flight, uh, this last April. So what was I 21, 20-ish month at 20, 21 months, I can't,
mm.
think really off the top of my head that quick, but, um, it was interesting. I was, like, panicking, like, "How am I gonna get through this?" Like, usually I'm sedated in a way, so I
I never
survived.
s I never sat with the other people, like, just in the airport. I'd always sat at the bar, waiting for my plane. So
Yeah,
that was interesting. I'm like, "Okay, I guess" I really started getting into movies. Like, that was one of the things that I just started
yeah,
watching a lot of movies, and that's what would get me through. But yeah, that was awkward too, like, trying to figure out where to sit and how to sit in the chairs and wait for your plane to be called instead of running to get your plane because you're trying to finish your last one and pay your tab.
right?
So
Or, you get to the airport early and it's no big deal because you're just gonna drink the
oh,
whole
yeah.
time, and now you
Yeah.
get to the airport and you're like, "Oh, this is boring, I have
Yeah,
to
what do I
sit here
do?
for
Yeah,
this long."
okay. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
let me just walk up and down. Oh, nope, just gonna sit here. Oh
Exactly.
my gosh.
Right.
So, the other thing, I know that we're coming to an hour, but the other thing that I really wanted to touch on is I don't it's so true when people don't understand. I know so many people around us that don't quite understand why we're sober, and I don't think people will understand ever until they choose to get sober themselves. Until
Yeah.
you're out of drinking, and because that is the main focus. When you are a drinker, that is literally the only focus that you have in life, and so they can't comprehend or understand why you are now sober.
You're exactly right, and, that's one thing, like, when I do talk to my mom, a lot, I always say, "You don't understand," and, one thing I failed to mention this, and it kinda comes into what you're saying here is I I didn't I would destroy like, I made my wife look like the worst person in the entire world to everybody. So, when I got sober, they still had that thought of her, and, I have had to go like, "No, that was false. I made that up. I made that up. That I tried to make myself look good. That wasn't her."
Huh?
And so when I try to get them to understand, it's like, I was really hurting people. It wasn't just me drinking and blacking out. I was hurting people that didn't deserve to be hurt. I was hurting the ones who cared about me the most and making them look horrible. I mean, my wife's mom, I mean, like I said, she unfortunately, we're going through something with her now health wise, but they didn't talk for a while. And that was because of me, because I was feeding her mom with stuff. It was just, like, when I took the job here, it was like, "Oh, no, my wife won't move here, she's such a jerk and blah, blah,
Hmm.
blah," and, her mom would call her, complaining, and they weren't getting along, and it's like, I told my mom, like, "I did that," luckily, they repaired the relationship, especially for what's happening now, that they've been able to spend time together, but if I was still drinking, that was another reason I said to her, "I'm glad I'm sober,"
Yeah.
going through this with you, right now with your mom, 'cause she wouldn't be. It'd be miserable, and,
I think
so
I
go
love that you noticed that because so many situations that we go through once we get sober, I think we realize, "Oh my gosh, this would have been so much worse had I been still drinking."
yeah,
And I think there's a healing component to being sober and getting through some of the hard things.
yeah, I just want I just want people that don't understand, just you don't have to understand, but kinda, talk to me and listen to me, and I can kinda, tell you how it's been hard, and I really, I kind like I said, I keep it to myself a lot,
Mm,
um, but I do want my parents to understand. Like, honestly, I haven't talked to my brother. My brother's 4 years younger than me. He actually paid for me to fly to Malibu.
oh,
I have not talked to him but one time since.
why?
I don't know. He doesn't talk to me, and so I'm like, I don't
Wait,
know what.
he flew you he helped fly you to
Yep,
Malibu.
yep, and I don't know if it's because I made my wife look so bad that now that I'm back with her,
Oh,
um, but I haven't he hasn't taken like, I called him, about a month ago. He didn't he's never answered. I text him, I was like, "Hey, tried to call you." He's like, "Yeah, sorry, I'm busy. We'll catch up soon." I mean, I've never he was in town. He lives in Texas. I live right around the corner from my parents now, and he was in town a couple weeks ago, um, never called me, didn't didn't see how I was doing, didn't even stop by, didn't say, "Hey, you wanna get together for a minute?" And I'm not doing that to trash him, I'm just saying that's something from, again, I think a lot of the things that I said and did that I
mm,
don't think he quite understands what my wife and I had to repair, and, you know
and he should be happy that you're restoring your
yeah.
marriage.
Like, I would, like to talk to him about it, but that's been tough too because you want the people in your family, like I said, I want that support from him, and he
Yeah,
supported me. He was one, like, honestly, of everybody, he's the one who was like, "Hey, you got to go out there. I got you. I'll pay for the flight." He actually bumped me up to first class. I mean, that's why I was drinking the whole way
wow.
out there. But yeah, he called me. He's like, "Hey, I got you to first class." I called him when I landed. I said, "Hey, I'm here." I was texting with him while I was there. So, that's something that's gonna take, I guess, some time to repair, and that's one of the regrets I have is that I don't want life's too short, and I don't want my family's not like that. We don't not talk, we don't
Right.
that's not how our life has ever been. We've had a really, really good solid family, where, everybody has their issues, but we've been one that's been tight and close to each other and there for each other. So,
But look
that's
what
another
alcohol
thing.
does. It
Yeah,
tears
it
people
did,
it
and
it
it did,
doesn't
and
matter
that's
how strong bonded
that
you
yeah,
are, like, alcohol can get in there and just rip you apart.
and
I
that's
mean,
why I
we're
give
going
that
through it.
example because it did. It's even not drinking now, it's still something you gotta deal with. It's not like I said, I
Yeah.
thought everything was gonna be great after the 7 days of detoxing, but it's just not how it works.
Yeah. So, your family unit, like the 5 of you, right? 6, 5 of you? 3
5, yep,
kids and
yep, 3
yeah.
kids and 1.
So, the 5 of you are fully functioning again?
Mhm, yep, we are, like, with my wife and daughter are here in Virginia right now because of my mother-in-law. So right now I have it's great because it's the first time since Thanksgiving that all 3 kids are under the roof, and Imma tell you what, I sit there and I just watch them like
Mhm.
they as my one son said, "I think the 3 of us bring out the worst in each other because 'cause they're always, ribbing on each other and stuff, but
Yeah.
it's just been so satisfying to me to be there. I haven't seen my wife as much. I'll go to the hospital when I can see her because she's so busy there, but just having them all here and feeling like a family again and just seeing how amazing they've turned out through all this
Yeah.
is so encouraging. Like, like I said, I don't have they're all thriving. They're not letting what dad did keep them from doing what they want to do in their dreams. And yeah, so we're all here right now. And summer for me is great because like I said, I'm in athletics. There are no college kids around. They're all at home. So I have a lot of free time that I get to spend and with them. So we're looking forward to this summer. I'm taking my daughter somewhere this weekend to get away, probably going over to Williamsburg and see that and do some things that I've never done before. I've never wanted to go anywhere that didn't have
Mhm.
alcohol,
Say yeah.
so so yeah, it's great to be able to do things that I hadn't done before. So
Yeah. I love that you say you're doing things that you wouldn't have done because they're like, all we cared about was alcohol. It's so true. I mean, I do so many more things nowadays because, I don't care if there's alcohol there. I
yeah,
mean, like, I don't want to go to sloppy drunk
yeah,
places. So
yeah,
that's the only thing that, like,
yeah.
stops me. But it's a freeing feeling, isn't it?
It absolutely is, and it feels like you have so many options now. You're not,
Yeah.
the blinders aren't on. Now it's like, oh, we can do that, we can do this, but before it's like, oh, well, no, I can't go there. I don't wanna go there. I can't get a drink there. I can't do that there. Yeah, and, so yeah, it's great. It's great. I look forward to, many years of that and watching them. Like I said, I get to see my son we never thought he'd be a college athlete. I get to personally be there on the sidelines 'cause, I work where he's an athlete. So, I get to be there and cover every one of his meets that he does, and
Oh,
it's just been amazing.
yeah.
And he signed his letter of intent 2 days before I went to rehab.
Oh,
So, that was a big thing for me too, was like, I'm gonna end up getting fired or something bad's gonna happen to me, and he's gonna be here, and he's gonna have to live with his dad was an alcoholic and fired from his job, and that, that's not something I wanted to leave a legacy with him
right.
on, so
But you are a story of hope. A lot of people, have shattered lives and some are hard to rebuild, but you got your family back.
I'm
And that
lucky.
is
Yeah.
the most like that is like a huge story of hope. I mean, for people listening, I would love for them to comment if they have any questions for you. And I just feel like so many people are looking for is there hope after this? There is. You just have to do the work.
Yep, and I'm in a much better my wife and I it's probably the best we've ever been in our relationship, and, we used to go out drinking together a lot when we first were dating and stuff, but
Mm,
our relationship is so much stronger now than it ever was. We still have work to do as always, but, going on 21 years now, and, yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing, and it just if anyone's out there contemplating what do I do, it can be done.
yeah.
You can go to rehab, you can not go, you can. There's all sorts of ways to do it. It's different for
Mhm.
everybody. Um, but yeah, I hope I do bring some hope to somebody who's out there not knowing what to do. And hey,
Yeah.
everybody may get that knock on a window one time
Yeah.
that somebody just shows up and pretty much saves your life. And what you do with it there is on you.
Yeah, I love that. I wanted to close with this quote that I found today. Sobriety doesn't erase the past, but it gives you the power to write a better ending.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I feel like that just like resonated with your story so much.
Yep, perfect.
I really appreciate you being here,
Oh,
Chris,
thanks
and
for having me.
I can't wait, maybe we'll have to do a year and a half follow up and, just keep in touch.
Yep, absolutely. Appreciate it, Megan.